Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a legend run in the Great League featuring a trainer who had actually retired from Go Battle League, but came back and hit legend with Crocalor. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Sonio Di Volare, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now the team, it's going to feature Crocalor on the lead, Lickitung as the safe switch, and as the closer, a Shadow Victory Bell to help cover for the water type weakness on Crocalor. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the team in action in the Open Great League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a bit of a tricky lead, leading Crocalor into Gligar. Crocalor going to store a bunch of energy, send in Lickitung, and Lickitung is able to bait out Skarmory. Extremely important to bait out the Skarmory. Skarmory, of course, would be a nightmare for the Victory Bell. So far, the team working as intended. It's a soft ABB style team where you have two Pokemon in the back that can handle the water types that Crocalor doesn't want to see. And then of course Lickitung is pretty decent at luring out those Skarmories or any potential Mandibuzz. Lickitung makes the body slam but loses charge attack priority. This game one is against Pato Man, a regional champion and someone who competed at the World Championships. Crocalor does have energy, but so does the Gligar. Back in comes the Gligar, and the threat of a potential dig will be forcing a shield. Crocalor building up to the back-to-back crunches, looking to apply some pressure onto this Gligar. Gligar is going to no-shield. Crocalor cannot quite get the farm down. Crocalor going for the double shield. This will be the dig. In the back is for Alligator, and this is where having the grass type will be key. Disarming Voice shielded. In comes the Shadow Victory Bell. They're only going to make it to a crunch. A crunch will potentially knock out here, but they don't have it. They were running Ice Beam and unable to get there, and that game ends in victory. Picking up a decent lead in the next match, Crocalor versus Shadow Empoleon. As long as shields are up, this is fine for Crocalor. Crocalor gonna bank a bunch of energy, send in the Lickitung, and Empoleon actually going to stay in here and fire off its energy. Hydro will deal substantial damage. Lickitung continuing to farm. We see the saving of a Hydro Cannon by that Empoleon as they switch out into Wigglytuff. Seeing Empoleon and a Wigglytuff, the obvious third is going to be Goodra. It'll just be the Memi-Chinflona team. And if that's the case, then this is going to be a very difficult game. Because Goodra, of course, going to do very well against the Fire and Grass core that's remaining on his team. Wigglytuff is going to fire off a charge attack. It is going to be the Swift. Crocalor withstands the damage and gets that farm down. Is the opponent going to bring back in the Empoleon? Empoleon did leave with energy. In comes the Empoleon, and Empoleon is able to win charge attack priority versus the Crocalor. Crocalor shielding up the Hydro Cannon, going for the crunch. I could honestly see the opponent just saving two shields for the Goodra here. They are going to let that crunch go, and in the back, as is expected, there is the Goodra. This game, unfortunately, looking to be a very tough one to win as in comes the Shadow Victory Bell, but look at the Dragon Breath go, absolutely shredding through this Victory Bell. Victory Bell will commit the shield. Victory Bell has to try and get to an Acid Spray, but is unable to get there, not going to be able to make the move, and Goodra is unfortunately going to be able to sweep this endgame as the Disarming Voice is just out of reach for Crocalor. Tough lead for Crocalor in the next match as it leads into Azumarill. Two better responses in the back, so we see the safe switch into Lickitung. And to my surprise, the Azumarill is not switching out. This tells me they don't have an amazing response to the Lickitung safe switch. They're going to go for a Play Rough that's going to connect, and they're going to send in Cresselia. Cresselia, pretty nice Pokemon to bait out. Oh, it's the Shadow Cresselia as well. Shadow Cresselia, and it's on Confusion. So a very interesting choice from the opponent. I think even though the Shadow does give extra damage, Confusion is just bad on Cresselia. Even if you're running the Shadow, I would still run Psycho Cut. The Body Slam plus the Lick is just not enough to pick up the knockout, but Lickitung is more than happy just to take Switch Advantage. Switch Advantage is going to be tremendously helpful in this game. Opponent sends out Typhlosion. Typhlosion just misses that farm down. The Lickitung able to survive with a fraction of HP, make the Body Slam, and force the shield. In comes Crocalor. The Battle of the Incinerate uses Blast Burn is going to hurt here. Typhlosion goes for a Thunder Punch. The next Thunder Punch will not KO, however. The opponent is going to need a couple more Incinerates before they can knock out. And this Typhlosion is just getting incredibly low. Crocalor just gonna let it go and trust in the Victory Bell. In comes the Victory Bell, Razor leaping down a Typhlosion. All that's left in the back is the Azumarill, and the opponent concedes the match. We move to the next game, Crocalor versus Annihilape. A good lead for the Crocalor. Annihilape staying in this matchup. Crocalor, of course, can spam out Disarming Voice. Disarming Voice will hit for super effective damage. Disarming Voice fired, will be shielded up by the Annihilape. Annihilape is threatening a potential KO with a Shadow Ball. Crocalor calls the bait, and it is going to be the Night Slash. But unfortunately for Crocalor, there's more where that came from the Annihilape. Annihilape able to grab the shield back with the Night Slash. We see a switch and a catch attempt on a Skarmory, but Crocalor did actually go for the crunch. So nice awareness there, understanding the opponent would probably try and catch, and now in comes Lickitung. Lickitung definitely can do okay here versus Skarmory. The crunch damage is very, very valuable. The opponent accidentally overfarms too much, and now they're going to have to give up a shield or lose a ton of energy on the Skarmory. So a misplay by the opponent there, lost track of energy, and it's going to end up costing them quite severely, as now they're in a position where they've given the Shadow Victory Bell a 1-0 shield advantage. Brave Bird will connect. In comes the Victory Bell. Just got a Razor Leaf down. In comes the Annihilape. Annihilape going to be able to make it to the Night Slash. Night Slash will be able to force the shield. What is that final Pokemon in the back? Oh no, it's the Whiscash, and it's all over. Poor Whiscash with the Skarmory out of the way. There's nothing to stop the rampage of Shadow Victory Bell, and that game is over. Crocalor versus Shadow Magnezone. Great lead in the next match. Magnezone stays in for a little bit. That's a huge surprise. They take so much damage. In comes Jellicent, and Jellicent is just going to be answered with the Lickitung. This game off to an absolutely amazing start, as Lickitung is never going to have to shield first in this matchup because the opponent just has 0 fast attack pressure, and the Surfs don't add up as much as you'd like them to. Power Whip fired by the Lickitung. This will hit for massive damage. Lickitung lands the move and gets that farm down. Back in comes the Magnezone, but Magnezone is going to be hit with a couple body slams, and these body slams, they really add up. Shadow Magnezone not known for its bulk. Magnezone shields. Magnezone forced to fire energy. Mirror Shot, I believe, should be enough to knock out here, and it barely is. Back in comes Crocalor. Oh my goodness, the Incinerate just missing the KO. Magnezone goes for the Mirror Shot. They're going to look to switch out. It's Wigglytuff in the back, and this game is over. Crocalor fishing for a Crunch debuff here. The Crunch does not get the debuff, but it's a Shadow Victory Bell. There's not a lot they are going to be able to do. Just going to let this go and finish the game with Crocalor. Icy Wind KOs, but in comes Crocalor to farm down that Wigglytuff, and the opponent will concede the match rather than let their Magnezone get KO'd. Next up, a battle against fellow content creator and Spice Lord Yusei, and a great lead for Crocalor leading into Shadow Venusaur. Yusei safe switches into a Shadow Kanto Muck. Yusei known for the Spice picks. This battle is no exception. Muck is going to be firing off a Thunder Punch. That's not going to do a ton of damage to the Lickitung. Lickitung looking to overfarm slightly and fire off the Body Slam. Body Slam not quite going to be able to KO, but Lickitung is going to be able to tank this damage, get a farm down, and exit with energy that will be pretty valuable against the Shadow Venusaur. Back in comes the Shadow Venusaur. Lickitung going to fire off this Body Slam. This Body Slam will leave a mark. Body Slam no shielded by the Venusaur. Venusaur going to look for the farm down, but Lickitung says no. Able to make one final Body Slam versus this Venusaur and force the shield. This honestly might be one Incinerate range. It'll be close. In comes Crocalor. Oh, it's not one Incinerate range. Crocalor lets it go, trusting in the Victory Bell, but it's a Shadow Ho-Oh in the back. Disaster strikes. The Shadow Ho-Oh is just going to fully farm down the Victory Bell there. Yusei known for the Spice picks, and unfortunately, we are going to see a 2-shield defeat as Shadow Ho-Oh is able to take the win. Hopping into the next match, Crocalor versus a non-Shadow Gligar. Crocalor going to play it out the same way. Bank energy, go Lickitung, and force him to throw. Non-Shadow Gligar is quite a bit worse in most situations, especially against Lickitung. The damage just really does not do what you want it to do. Opponent running a team extremely weak to Water Gun Lantern. They end up bringing out Skarmory, but again, baiting out the Skarmory is very good here, as that way your Victory Bell not going to have to deal with it. Lickitung just going to do what it does best. Of course, it is getting nerfed in the new season, but for the time being, it's still going to do a great job at providing neutral play into just about anything you can encounter. Lickitung, unfortunately not going to be able to force a shield here. The lick damage did not put it into Body Slam range. We see an aggressive switch into the Crocalor, hoping for a snipe, but the Skarmory able to make the Brave Bird and force the shield. They do have energy on the Gligar, and that could be problematic. Opponent going to bring in Lantern. Oh boy, this is going to be a tough game to win. The Crunch does get a defense drop, however. Opponent switches out due to the debuff. They bring in the Gligar. Gligar goes for the dig, and now this game actually feels winnable. All Victory Bell has to do is shield up the move from the Gligar. The opponent had the alignment they wanted, but they got worried due to the fact that they did end up getting debuffed. Oh my goodness. This will be an interesting game because a Thunderbolt could potentially knock out here. We're going to see the Acid Spray fired at this Lantern. We see a switch, and there's the catch. The back-breaking catch there. It is just going to be the Surf, but Victory Bell is going to get a full farm down and be able to take that game. The start of the next battle is cut off slightly, but it's a Wigglytuff lead into Crocalor. Opponent save switches into Steelix, so they're completely core broken by the Fire Crocodile. Crocalor tanks the Psychic Fangs, returning fire with the Crunch. Crunch is shielded. Now we see the switch to Lickitung. Honestly, Lickitung might be able to absorb 2 Psychic Fangs, lick all the way down, and exit with some charge attacks loaded. I wouldn't mind that play whatsoever. Steelix is going to make another move. Lickitung actually deciding not to go for the farm down, instead preserving some HP. The awkward thing about preserving HP is it is going to set up a lot of Wigglytuff farm, and the Crocalor took enough damage to where that farm is actually a little bit concerning. Wigglytuff re-enters the field of play. Lickitung going to start spamming out these body slams. The charm's not going to do enough. Unfortunately, Lickitung unable to make the power whip, so forced to settle for the slightly less powerful body slam. The body slam will connect. In comes Crocalor. Crocalor will be forced to shield, as this move could potentially KO. It is going to be the Swift from the Wigglytuff in the back. Oh no, it's Bastiodon, and this is really not good. The Crunch will connect. We do not see the debuff. In comes the Victory Bell. Victory Bell going to have to try and pull magic out of a hat here. Victory Bell honestly could probably go for an Acid Spray and a farm down. Victory Bell not going for the Acid Spray, instead looking for the full farm down and getting the full farm down as well. Victory Bell. Oh, the game stutters. He doesn't get his move off, and he's actually going to end up losing. Oh, that is a heartbreaking way to lose that game. The game stuttering at a crucial moment. He had a move. He could have thrown it and won the game, but unfortunately the game says no. We move to the next match, Crocalor into Shadow Gligar. The same game plan as before with the Gligar leads. Throw a couple Incinerates, then switch into the Lickitung, as most of the time, battlers will actually throw their Gligar energy at the Lickitung, and then Crocalor up energy can just beat Gligar later. Opponent brings in Charjabug. If they're bringing Charjabug into a Lickitung, they're just running a team that's triple weak to Licky. Licky is going to be able to land that Body Slam. Licky, unfortunately, playing to the CMP tie there, as that's when it got the move, so not quite able to get some damage on the Charjabug, but this is going to set up a really nice farm for Crocalor. You really hope that 2 Incinerates can KO. Unfortunately, they just do not, and Charjabug is going to be able to make the Discharge. Discharge will do quite a lot of damage. In the back is Feraligatr, and this game is just a win. You just fire off your energy, and then trust in the Victory Bell. Out comes the Gligar. Gligar firing off a move, but the opponent is just going to get KO'd with 2 shields, as the Shadow Victory Bell is going to get the full farm down of the Gligar. All that's left is the Feraligatr. Feraligatr not farming that down either, and that will be game over. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Crocalor versus Annihilape. Again, a pretty nice spot to be in if you're the Crocalor. Whereas the Skeledirge does have the Ghost subtyping, which means that it's able to resist the counters. The Crocalor is taking neutral damage from these counters across the board. Disarming Voice is going to be shielded, and now Annihilape will fire off its energy. Crocalor is going to call the bait. It's the Night Slash, and going to be able to win the ones. We're going to see a catch from the opponent as they end up catching the Disarming Voice onto Registeel. Nice catch from the opponent. They're going to be hit with an Incinerate and a switch out into the Shadow Victory Bell. Shadow Victory Bell is a wall to these charge attacks, but a resistant Zap Cannon will still do quite a lot of damage. A bit of good luck for the battler, as we do see no Zap Cannon debuff. It's a 66% chance to lower the attack. Leaf Blade comes through, not quite enough to KO, but the Razor Leafs after will. In the back, it's going to be Gligar. Gligar going to take heavy damage from these neutral grass attacks. Firing off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is going to be shielded up. Gligar can look for a farm down, but it pays a heavy toll as it just takes so much damage. Exiting with a ton of energy. Going to send in the Lickitung. Lickitung going to be met with a charge attack here. Could be the dig. We will see the nose shield. It is going to be the dig. In comes Annihilape. Annihilape has quite a bit of energy stored from earlier. Annihilape is going to be firing off the Night Slash. We see the shield. We do not see the boost. They make another Night Slash, but this will not KO. And Lickitung, barring a boost, can just farm this all the way down, leave with the charge attack loaded. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping into the final match, amazing lead Crocalor versus Shadow Venusaur. Opponent safe switches into their own Crocalor. What are the odds? At this point, he is well above legend rank in the mid 3100s, and this opponent having some fun running Crocalor as well. Odds are, if they're probably safe switching a Crocalor, I wouldn't be surprised to see another fire type in the back like a Typhlosion or a Skeledirge. Lickitung plays to the CMP tie. They're a bit risky, but the opponent ends up throwing the energy, so it ends up working out. Lickitung going to overfarm and try and pick up the knockout with the Body Slam. Body Slam is going to be shielded up by the Crocalor. Crocalor is going to get a big farm down. The nice thing is that in the Crocalor mirror, you can actually survive a move, whereas in a Skeledirge mirror, you actually have to respect the Shadow Ball. So we're just going to see the nose shield on the crunch. What does the opponent have in back? They have the Skeledirge. Unfortunately, the opponent does get the one turn bring in there. Crunch is going to connect, dealing massive, massive damage. Opponent overfarming quite a bit. Crocalor now going to fire off the Disarming Voice. Disarming Voice is going to be shielded up. We see the switch to the Victory Bell. Attempt at a snipe, but the 1 HP Skeledirge leaves with a Shadow Ball and Disarming Voice loaded. A switch out by the opponent into Venusaur. Venusaur going to be met with the double resisted Leaf Blade. Even though it is double resisted, this is Shadow versus Shadow, so that damage will actually add up. Here's the interesting thing. You can't shield the Victory Bell, so it's all going to come down to fast move pressure from the opponent. Crocalor is barely going to hang on here. Unfortunately, the Incinerate did not KO. Crocalor, can it survive the Vine Whips? Yes, it can. Crocalor barely hangs on, exiting with that Crunch. Crunch is going to secure the knockout onto the Skeledirge and take the win. All in all, I feel like this team is a good demonstration that even if you're not necessarily running the top 3 PV Pokemons, you can still have success and climb to Legend if you're able to execute well with them. And that's what this battler was able to do. Build a pretty standard balanced team centered around a very strong neutral safe switch like Lickitung, and then from there, just seek to try and outplay opponents. And he was able to successfully do that, as he was able to reach Legend rank coming out of retirement and climb up to the 3100s as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.